Hey, everybody, it's Steve from Color Cards and Coffee. We're just getting started with our podcast here. We'll get started in about 10 minutes at the bottom of the hour. Right now, we're just doing sound checks and different various chairs and things. So thanks for joining us, and hopefully you'll have a great podcast. Thanks for joining me. Thanks. Right. And if you are joining us, who's with us? Just dump a comment there and say hello. We'll say hi. So who is Yo Yo Yo? Oh, there's Allie. Hey, Allie, how you doing? Allie, what have you guys been up to? Oh, it's Marcus. Okay, I see now. How you doing, Marcus? How's SLS doing? You guys staying busy? Kind of rusty, John. We haven't done these for a while. Maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Okay, links update on Instagram and shared out to our Southern CNC Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ali, I know the S50 is the engine. The ZF, is that the transmission for the S50 or what for your E30? Okay. All right. Who else is on the line tonight? Who else is with us? Let's see. We got 9 watching. Wonder if Terry's out there.
Yeah.
Said he was making dinner for his sister and her family while giving them some help tonight. So yeah, my wife Mary, she looking at Ford Mavericks last night, kind of pricing out some options. And the first one we looked at, it just showed it was front wheel drive, and I didn't know because we picked the hybrid option. You only get front wheel drive, so she wasn't too interested because she feels more safe with an all wheel drive and Colorado snows and whatnot. So then I did a quick search, like, oh, if I just select the EcoBoost 4-cylinder turbo, then it opens up the all-wheel drive. So she's like, yes, let's do that. So we're now with our daughter. She's graduated high school and starting college and stuff, trying to find the right car. She would get the hand-me-down car, then Mary or I would drive the Maverick for our daily driver. So we're just trying to figure out the logistics of what's best.
Yeah, the Maverick was really exciting when I saw it finally came out. I feel like that's a market that really just hasn't existed for, years now. I mean, all the trucks, like the 1500s and even like the Ford Ranger. You put a Ford Ranger next to like a 1995 F-150 and the Ranger's bigger. It's incredible.
Yes.
So when I saw that the Maverick was coming out, I actually put it in the order the day it was available.
Right. You hit the button, right? You've got one on order.
Yeah, so I ordered one, which, I mean, shout out to Ford for making it a really easy process. But it was really exciting because, I'd been commuting to an office job in a 1500 GMC, and it didn't make sense to have anymore. So I was really excited to see a small size truck hit the market.
And did you go hybrid or did you go the EcoBoost?
So with my desire to want to go racing more often, I needed to be able to tow a small trailer. So I ended up with the EcoBoost and the all-wheel drive so that you can tow up to 4,000 pounds. So
right. Was there some towing option package that you added to the the towing?
Yep. So you can add the tow package, which requires the all-wheel drive.
Okay.
But even for that option, I think it was when I built mine only $700 as an add-on. So
nice.
Not too bad.
Very good. Yeah, we are definitely considering it. I know she wants to go and test drive one because I don't want to buy a car that's like we ordered it and then we go pick it up and like, man, this does not drive like we expected. I don't want to make that mistake. So we won't be in any hurry or anything. But yeah, it's intriguing. The pricing is right, and a lot of folks are saying, well, just don't get a half truck. It's only going to do half the job because it's only got half a cab or half a bed. And like, well, I mean, and she's not too interested in the Ford Escape and can't talk her into a Ford Bronco. Might have to go drive a Bronco Sport just to see what she thinks about it. But
yeah, I mean, the market is so divided to me. You have your half-ton trucks, which are, for the most part used by people who work in construction or landscaping. They need the bed size, they need the towing capacity. And then there's people like me who have a DIY project at their house going on every weekend, or they want to trailer their 2,000-pound car to a racetrack every other weekend. So it's nice to have the utility of it, and it's hard to find these days.
I do have a question for both of you guys. With the Ford Lightning coming next year, did any of you guys consider that or not at all?
I've not considered electric too much yet.
Okay.
And what was driving me to the Maverick was the low cost. I imagine the Lightning's probably 40 plus, and then once you start adding in the options you want, you're talking 50 or so.
Right.
I just wasn't really interested in that kind of pricing for a daily driver at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and for me, I would love to get on the electric vehicle train, and I want to, and I think ultimately we'll all end up there, whether we want to or not.
Right.
But the Lightning, to me, I think the big one was the range. I was worried that if I wanted to go visit friends down in southern Colorado for the day, I'd have to find a charging station somewhere along the way.
Oh, right.
So that it was. I think it's bold of Ford to want to dive into the electric truck industry. That is, but I think at the end of the day, they just need to see how it does.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I've been
What
kind of
about
leaning towards it.
what about you, John? Thinking about the Lightning?
Yeah, I've been kind of leaning towards that, or maybe a Tesla. I haven't decided if I want to go back to a truck because I used to have a Raptor, or if I want to, stick on like a sedan or something.
A Tesla? A Tesla? Really?
Yeah.
I'll admit I was looking at Model 3s today.
Okay.
Would the Lightning, or I guess any of these electric cars, be one of your first EV?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it would be my first.
Okay. Very interesting.
It'd be the same for me as well. The closest thing I have is my wife had a 2006 Honda Civic Hybrid that she had for 14 years, which was quite impressive. So driving around in that's the closest thing I have. I've never owned a hybrid, though, or even an electric vehicle.
All right.
I don't even know enough about hybrids. So do you plug a hybrid in each night like you do with electric cars, or
I think there are some plug-in hybrids. Yeah. The one that my wife had was just a electric assist.
Okay, so whatever the battery was providing was just the extra.
Yeah.
In the car, it always provided the extra to recharge the battery, not something else.
Correct.
What? Yeah. Yeah. Kyle, if Kyle's on tonight, I don't know, but he's always telling us, you got to get in the EV and spend some time in it. And I've not done that. We did have the chance to go drive the Taycan around the block, but that was just a quick blast and wasn't a real experience. Didn't come home and plug it into my house or anything. So
right.
Now that I think about, it wouldn't be my, it's not an EV I own, but I did take a test drive in the Polestar too. And so
what was your impression of that?
I liked it. It had that kind of instant power. I thought it was, the outside was probably the only thing I didn't really care much. Was the exterior design was kind of plain, but other than that, it was pretty nice. I like the whole, it kind of got me sold on the whole electric cars.
And that was fully EV?
Yes. Yeah.
How did the power feel? Did you kind of get on it some, or?
Yeah. It was just instant. It was almost like if I was to, turn on launch control, on my Focus RS and got going, it was like that. And you have to do any other settings, you just go, it was really instant power. It's pretty amazing.
Huh.
Yeah.
I recall when they were coming through and they were saying, hey, we're available to come test drive. I just never made it out.
Yeah.
Well, let's go and get started, John. If you want to start the intro, we're at the bottom of the hour, 7:35. So,
all right,
running behind already.
All
we're
right.
rusty. We're rusty. So bear with us.
Yeah. What's up, guys? You're listening to the Colorado Cars and Coffee podcast with me, John, Steve, and Ian. We want to thank you for joining us. I guess we'll get started on events. Our first event is on July 16th. And that's at 6 p.m., which is Chips, Cars, and Tacos at 7630 West 80th Avenue in Arvada, Colorado.
On July 17th, so that's Saturday, I believe. Yep. From 6:30 a.m. until 10 a.m., we have Cars and Coffee at the Mile High Acura. That is at 2799 South Havana Street in Denver.
And I think this is their first one, and they're bold. I mean, 6:30 a.m. start. That's interesting. July 17th, 7 a.m. There's Mayhem Racing Charities, Deco Tent PPF one-day rally. And that's at Deco Tent, 4700 West 60th Avenue, Unit 3, Arvada.
On July 17th at 7 a.m., we have a Cars and Coffee, North Denver, hosted by Adams Polishes. It's at the Denver Premium Outlets, 13801 Grant Street, Thornton.
Excellent. And on Saturday as well, starting at 7 a.m., going until 2, we have the tongue twister here, the Summer Sun Fun Run car show at the 700 and 800 blocks of Main Street in Canyon City, Colorado.
I think you're supposed to say that much, much faster. Try harder next time. July 17th, 8 a.m., Cars and Coffee with Tri-City Auto Gallery, 3675 Clydesdale Parkway in Loveland. And this is the company, the dealer that allowed us to take the Accurate NSX out for our most current light roast episode. Plug for that. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on our YouTube channel. Terry and Jeevan and several of our media team went out and did a video on that Accurate 2019 Accurate NSX. Awesome video. So go check it out.
Right. On July 17th at 8:30 a.m., it's the Motorcycle Depot 13th Annual Ride and Rally Car and Bike Show, which is located at 16404 East 2nd Avenue in Aurora.
That is a mouthful. On Saturday, the 17th, starting at 9 a.m., the Mike Ord Supercar Saturday. That's at 1850 Lucent Court in Highlands Ranch.
Also on Saturday, July 17th, 9 a.m., Evergreen Cars and Coffee. And that's at 3639 Evergreen Parkway in Evergreen.
On July 17th at 10 a.m., it's the Truck It Festival at Pikes Peak International Raceway in Fountain.
On Saturday the 17th, starting at 11 a.m., the Beautiful Cars, Beautiful Cause Car and Bike Show. That's at 24887 Genesee Trail Road in Golden.
On July 17th, also Saturday, 2:30 p.m. to 6 is the 6th annual Jersevix Blue Line Cruise, and that's 15055 South Golden Road in Golden.
On July 17th, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., it's Car and Cocktails at Black Hat Distillery, 5745 Industrial Place, Suite A in Colorado Springs.
Yay, a Colorado Springs event. Yes.
Yes.
So now that you have filled your Saturday full of Lord knows how many events, we're on to Sunday. Starting at 7:30 a.m. is the Loveland Sunday Morning Car Show by Isaac Martinez. That is at 1477 East Eisenhower Boulevard up in Loveland.
Okay, and on Sunday, July 18th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. is Automezzi 31. It's at Denver Kickers Sport Club at 16776 West 50th Avenue in Golden. And this is all kinds of different Italian cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Alfas, Fiats, Apollos, different ones I'm probably forgetting, but it's a huge Italian car show. So go check that out. I think spectator tickets are $10. So should be a good show. I went last year. I took my Alpha and had a great time. So
on July 18th at 10 a.m., it's Brooks' 5th birthday car show at Brooks 2-Bit Barbershop, 105 Myrtle Street in Fort Collins.
And on Sunday, starting at 11 a.m., the Wheels Car/Bike Show at 2490 West Hampton Avenue in Englewood, Colorado.
And our last event that we're tracking, I'm sure there's several more events out there, but this is just, we'll stop here. July 18th on Sunday, noon. It's just called Car Show, so super descriptive. It's at Pikes Peak Brewing, 1756 Lake Woodmore Drive in Monument. So that's the events wrap up that we have. And that only took us about 5 minutes. That's not bad. So a lot of things to choose from this weekend. Should be some great shows.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get started on the topics, we'll just mention our newsletter. And if you haven't signed up, you should probably get on that spam list.
Yes, please do. It comes out about every 2 weeks. We compile all the events that we can find that cover the 2 week period. And we've been trying to find an article about a member's ride. We reach out to the member and say, hey, do you have a few photos of your car? And just kind of give us a few sentences about the car. And we place that in the newsletter as well. So we have a good team that's been working that newsletter. So yeah, please go sign up.
Yeah. And so I guess we'll start. So about, what was it, a week or two, a couple weeks ago, I went to the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, got approved for media special access my second time. And this race went pretty well. It was different because they brought the spectators back. So certainly more people. I wasn't by myself like last year.
Where were you set up, John?
So practice days, I kind of fluctuated between Glen Cove and kind of near the start line, the end of the start portion. On race day, I was at the start line. Mainly, I mainly aimed for the whole long exposure, darkness outside before the race started, and took pictures of cars. I know everybody was into the whole panning shots and stuff, but I just really like long exposures, so I just kind of focused on that. So I got some pictures too, if I can remember how to share.
If you can figure out the share, please do.
Yeah. Okay.
Were you using a tripod for the long exposures or handheld?
Yeah, for sure.
Tripod.
Yeah. Use a tripod. You put it on the road, on pavement, and then I set it for like a 30-second exposure, and I just let it set, do its thing, and it just came with the pictures. So I'll start sharing them now. It's one of my favorites here. Let's see. All right. So this is one of the NSX I took across the road.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What's the light bar going across the?
So there was a technician. He was kind of looking over, I guess, probably making sure the tires are working. He was kind of looking down. He had like a headlamp, and then he moved to the other side. Yeah.
So you can see his headlamp, but you can't see him.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That kind of light stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what other pictures I got here. Here's one with a car passing by. And then there's Romain Dumas, says Porsche there. Some more Acuras there. BMW. And then I had to get some panning shots, of course. So
that's a good shot. I like that.
Yeah, this was kind of near. It was a little bit farther down from the start line, but I always liked this kind of area with the trees in the background. So, yeah.
Cool. Hey, Cal, how's it going? I see you just joined. Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
Were you out there for all the practice days, John?
Yeah. I think all of them except the optional one, but you had to get up at like 2 a.m. like every day. And so it ends up, being quite a long time.
Did you camp up there, or was it kind of going up each time?
No, I was just going up each time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and all the days were fine. And then I think it was the third practice day, we had quite a bit of rain. It rained for like almost 2 hours. So it wasn't too bad though. Other than that, it was a great event.
What do you do when it rains? Do you just sit in your car, or do you hide under a tree or canopy? Or
so on that day, I was up where Glen Cove was. I was trying to do long exposures again. I had my coat on, and I just kind of tried to put my coat kind of over the camera, and then the rest of it is I just kind of waited in my car until the practice session started, and then at that point it stopped raining, which was good. So yeah.
On those long exposures, how long is long exposure? Like 3 seconds, 1 second, 10
Um,
seconds?
it's about 30 seconds, so well, almost about a minute.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's definite tripod territory for that,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's about it. I think we're on to Ian talking about his Integra.
Okay, Ian, you're probably wondering why our guest speaker is rattling off events. Well, he's also part of our CNC admin team, so we put him to work. That's natural. So, but thanks for coming on, Ian. Yeah, just kind of give us an intro about yourself, and then you can just start talking about the car, and we'll start peppering you with questions as we go. So, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks. Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk. It's been really been a really good time to help out with the admin team across all of our social media channels. So very happy to be here. So as Steve mentioned, my name is Ian Carr. I'm here to talk about my COVID project, which is a 1995 Acura Integra that I picked up beginning of last year.
Ian, what's your last name?
Carr, Carr.
Carr. Okay. Huh.
Coincidence? I'm not sure.
Go ahead, continue. Sorry, didn't mean to distract you.
No, not a problem. So as all of us lived through, we had COVID last year, so I really needed something to kind of preoccupy my time. I was living in a new city. I moved to Colorado in 2019 from the East Coast. So it was right before the lockdown started happening. So I picked up this 95 Integra. I knew it needed some work, just rolling into the garage the first day. I kind of like pushed down a little bit on the rear quarter panel, and I just watched the whole car bounce up and down and up and down. And, the heater core had exploded. So the carpet was all full of coolant. It was a 25-year-old car with 200,000 miles on it. So I knew before I wanted to touch anything that I really needed to get it safe to be on the road. So really dove into the suspension and the brakes of the car. I ended up replacing every bushing. I ended up doing coilovers from Progress. The upper control arms, lower control arms, ball joints. Steering, if it was attached to a wheel, it was replaced. And then we went in and did a nice job updating the brakes as well. Stainless steel lines, everything across the board. So it was really great because I got the car to a point where I could feel comfortable driving it. For the very few like Sonic events that we were able to have last year, just kind of get the car out and drive it around a little bit. But I knew I wanted something a little bit more. This car wasn't just a go to car shows car. I bought this thing because I wanted to go to the track. It's going to be I want to be out at High Plains a couple times a year, maybe take it down Bandamere a time or two. So I knew I wanted to add a little more power, make it a little more safe to drive. So I started planning a turbo project because when you have a Honda, you want to turbo it. So I started putting together all the different pieces for it. I worked with Go Auto Works to order the kit itself for the turbo. And I started ordering those right at the end of 2020. And January rolls around, and I'm about to start working on the car. And my wife tells me, hey, we're going to have a kit this year. I was so excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, but she's gonna kill me for saying this, but the first thing I said is I'm keeping the race car. So, but
might be the last thing you said too.
and it's been nothing but joy
you,
since.
You had just bought the Integra in 2019, right?
So in 2020. So I bought it.
You bought it in 2020, I guess, before COVID.
Right as COVID was starting to happen.
Okay. Was COVID a factor when you bought the car? Was it starting to mask up and hysteria and all that stuff? Or?
Yeah, it was right when we started hearing about lockdowns starting to happen before the national one was put out. So I suspected this might last longer than a couple of weeks to flatten the curve, as they say. So yeah, I bought the car pretty much to get me through COVID, and it's been nothing but fun and joy.
And where did you find the car? What was your process in finding that car and choosing it? And did you test drive, or was it sight unseen? Or
no, so I got to test drive it. We took every precaution that we could, wore mask and wiped down the interiors. But
was it local?
It was local. It was actually
Okay.
right here.
Cool.
I'm in the Westminster Broomfield area, and I think I got the car over in Thornton. So very short drive. And the car lived its life in the Southwest. So while there's a couple of small body patches of rust, underneath there was nothing. Even the exhaust bolts didn't have rust on them at 200,000 miles. I was able to just undo them without anything breaking. So
awesome.
Yeah. So shortly after I realized I was going to be having a kid this year, I also realized that I wasn't going to have a lot of time over the next couple of winters to keep diving into car projects. So instead of getting rid of the car, I decided to double down and wanted to build the block and build the transmission and everything attached to it. So that's exactly what I did. I ended up piecing everything. I pulled the engine. I took the entire block apart down to its very last bolt, replaced every bearing and oil pump and seal, and built the transmission and the block to withstand the power that I wanted to make.
And you kept the same block, right? So this is the original block. What parts were kept, I guess, as original?
So I had the block inspected first and foremost. I did a compression test before I even took it apart, and all the pressures were still incredible on it. And when I got inside, the aluminum was still aluminum colored. So that told me that the owners of this vehicle were really good with it. There wasn't any oil crud anywhere. And so they must have been really good about doing oil changes as maintenance. So I inspected the bearings. I inspected the actual piston gap within the cylinders. And all it needed, amazingly, was just a good hone in the cylinder walls. But as far as what happened for the rest of it, everything was replaced. If it was a bolt, it is now made by ARP. If it was a bearing, it is made by ACL. And was able to put it all back together. The pistons, the rods, the bolts there were all replaced. I went to a lower compression piston as well because I wanted to do more than just a couple PSI. So yeah, it took about a month, all weekends, and some nights. But yeah, it took about a month to get the whole block and transmission back together.
Can you give us just a quick background on the engine itself? You said it was the original one, so 6-cylinder, straight six, V6, 4-banger.
A little 4-banger.
Yeah, tell us about it. We have Trung on here. He's asking if it was an LS swap. No, Trung was not an LS swap. So tell us about the engine.
Yeah, so the engine itself, this was the car is a 95 Integra LS, so it is the non-VTEC engine, but it is the B18B, which is a 1.8 liter 4-cylinder. To counteract not having a VTEC cylinder head, I ended up doing piston or valves, dual valve springs with titanium retainers, a very large stage 2 Brian Crower turbo camshaft. So and I ported the intake and exhaust ports. So the head was completely fresh and ready to go in. So.
And what kind of transmission?
It is the LS transmission, but what I ended up doing was I was lucky enough to get a sponsorship from M Factory. They actually they build limited slip differentials and transmission parts. So I worked with them to do a helical race packed, limited slip. So what that means is that if there's a detection of 22% wheel differential, the helical will actually lock, which is pretty cool. So it's a really effective limited slip. And when I did that, I replaced all the bearings. I inspected all the synchros to make sure that they were good. Replaced ones that weren't. And if there was a seal in the transmission, I replaced that too, it was actually pretty cool. I've never pulled apart a transmission before. I've worked on other engines a bunch of times, but transmission was new to me.
So how did you go about being brave enough to pull apart a transmission? And starting to work on it? A lot of YouTube videos or a lot of forums, or how did you do this? Because usually transmissions are a lot of small parts and pieces. And
Well, the one thing I kept telling myself is if there was ever a car to learn it on, it is this one. I think all of us can agree that a mid-90s Honda Acura, they're very simple. The design was simplistic, and that was its blessing. And that's why you see these engines with 300, 400, 500,000 miles. So I said, if there was ever a car to learn it on, it'd be this one. So luckily with Hondas and Acuras, since even before Fast and the Furious was a thing, people have been modifying them. So the old forums, YouTube videos, tech books, and then there's just a lot of knowledge out there as well.
did you find any technical gaps based on what was in the forums and YouTubes, and you had to wing it, or was everything out there?
I never hit a dead end, but I was, I want to say, smart enough to get involved and communicate with this shop called PFI Speed. They are a really well-known Honda tuning shop, and they're actually up in Fort Lupton, so not too far from me. So I always checked with them, or at least tried to, before I made any purchases, or if I was adjusting something, or like even just like what spark plug should I run with and at what gap, because ultimately they're going to be the one tuning it, so they want to recommend the stuff that they're most familiar with.
Sure.
So one of our guests, one of our watchers, Trung, wants to know what kind of power is it pushing.
So that was the fun part. So after a couple months of working on it, getting it back together, I went to go start it up. The car's actually on a piggyback ECU system called the Hondata, and I got a map and I installed it, and I turned over the key and I let it turn over without gas for a solid 20 seconds, and I had oil pressure, and I'm like, okay, well, we're good. Checked for leaks, started it up, and it started first try. It was really awesome that just I was able to get it all back together. No weird noises, ticks, or anything like that. So I set up my time to go up to PFI Speed to get it tuned, which was really exciting. So when actual dyno day came around, we trailered the car up there, and I got on the roller, and Brent, who owns the shop, he was giving everything a once over, and I was kind of sitting there all like, oh man, please don't be like, oh, who built this thing?
This is wrong, and this is wrong, and that's wrong.
I was so nervous, and I sat there and watched him, and he's like, okay, and starts it up and lets the engine warm up, and he's tapping to adjust the timing, because it's old enough where you actually have to like rotate a distributor to adjust your ignition timing. So I end up asking, I'm like, how do you think I did? And he gave me a thumbs up, which was great. It's about as good of a compliment as you could get.
Well, that's good. That's great.
Yeah. So the question, how much power does it make? So he goes to the first run at the dyno, and we make 270 wheel horsepower, which was pretty good. My goal was to make 300 wheel horsepower. If I make 350, I'll be happy. So 270 horsepower at 6 psi was pretty good.
Right.
So he makes a couple minor adjustments and bumps it up to 8 psi, and okay, we're at 284 horsepower of the wheels. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, man, I really hope we could break 300. I'm gonna be kind of disappointed if I put all this work into it.
And these are to the front wheels, right?
Correct. So this is to the front wheel. Yep.
Okay.
So he says, all right, we're gonna kick it up to 10 psi. I'm like, oh, please. Go on, we gotta get over 300. And
did you guys do 9 psi first, or was it eight to 10?
6, 8 to 10, and at 10 psi we made 302 wheel horsepower, which I'm like, all right, I hit my goal. This is good. And I kind of looked over at Brent, and I'm like, nice. This is really good. He's like, we're not quite there yet. I'm like, oh,
wow.
So he does a couple more pulls, a little bit more. Then finally, the final pull, and he looked at me. He said, "This is my comfort zone for this 12 psi boost, and on a 95-degree day. This was again only last month. Very heat soaked. We made 333 wheel horsepower, and about 240 foot-pounds of torque.
Oh wow! That's impressive.
That is impressive. That's
Yeah, so
well done.
it's just about 400 horsepower at the block, given a 16% drivetrain loss. But yeah, and for me, again, it was crazy hot that day. It was one of those days where everyone had their AC going. I really want to go back in the fall and just see if we could just hit that 350 wheel horsepower mark.
How much horsepower is this thing stock? The B18B.
B18B made 142 horsepower at brake horsepower. So the
majority of this was the turbo, or was there something more to it that really?
So the turbo obviously is going to make up a lot of the difference, but having the cylinder head that flows a little bit better. The bottom end of the block, so adding the H-beam rods and the low compression pistons and connecting everything with ARP bolts just made everything that much stronger. And it also just kind of shows that, there are so many people who own these cars and they just throw an eBay turbo kit on them and they make 250 wheel horsepower and they will do it for another 100,000 miles. It's just simplicity in design is efficient.
Yeah. That's awesome. What future plans do you have for Ian?
Yeah, so I over the winter I also did my interior. So I added certified FIA certified seats. I just need to get a half roll cage in, and I really want to be out on the High Plains, High Plains Raceway, down to PPIR. I want to do time attack just to get a little more comfortable with the car, and would love to just do as many track days as I can with it.
Right.
Otherwise, it's really kind of cool because even though it could be a fun track car if I want it to be, I took it to go get groceries this afternoon. So you can do a little bit of everything in it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just glad to see another Integra on the road. I just love seeing those.
They're few and far between now.
And you got really pretty red seats. They were sponsored. Is that right?
Yeah. So
it's Broom or Bride or
Brom.
Yep. That's right.
Yep. Yeah. Brom. So they have their FIA certified seats, and I also have their SFI certified harnesses as well when I get the roll cage in.
Well, that's awesome. 5-speed, right?
Yeah. So it's a 5-speed. So it has nice long gearing, which is good for turbo cars for getting speed. If I was gonna rebuild the transmission again, I would probably go with the GSR or Type R gearing. The gear ratios are just a little bit closer, but you can have a final drive ratio that's a little longer, so you can get on the highway and not be stuck at 4,000 RPM.
Can you adjust the boost like on the fly or on your dash or something? Or
so if I brought my laptop around with me, I could.
Okay.
It's easy enough just with Honda to literally just say I want to make this much more boost. If I really wanted to make more power, doing an E85 conversion would probably be the easiest and safest way to hit that like 400 wheel mark safely.
Wow. Are you considering the E85?
We'll see if I get bored of 330 wheel horsepower or not. It's still very exciting every time I put the throttle down.
Jeez, I bet, man. How much is it weigh again?
So I removed AC, I removed power steering. A lot of the interior bits are removed, but still comfortable. It should be right around 2,200 pounds.
2,200?
Yeah. Between 22 and 23 is my best guess.
Wow. True, you were way off. But man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is so light. That's so lightweight. I no airbags, I guess. I don't know.
It does technically have airbags. I did replace my steering wheel with a smaller diameter Sparco steering wheel, so I don't have an airbag anymore.
Okay. I know right 95 it was around those years they were all standardizing, but yeah, okay. Huh. Yeah. 2,200 pounds.
Yeah, and so
333 horsepower to the wheels.
Yeah. So, and the nice thing with the standalone for any drag racing I ever want to do, or even just driving around normally, it has what's called boost by gear. So the computer can actually tell when I'm in first and second gear based on the speed and RPM. So it'll actually limit the amount of boost pressure I would create to actually like reduce horsepower to optimize traction. So it's pretty cool. I've tried it a couple of times, just getting onto the highway around here, flooring it in first and second, and you feel the limited slip really going. You get a little bit of torque steer, but it's holding traction, which is really remarkable. I was certain that it would just be nothing but wheel spin, but the only time it chirps is when I actually shift into the next gear.
And that boost by gear actually helps you maintain that traction.
Exactly. So if you just reduce boost, which reduces power in those lower gears, you end up being faster.
Right.
Front wheel drive problems.
So is this supposed to be just a strictly time attack car, or?
I'm not sure what to do with it. It would at this point it would never qualify for any like circuit, like if I wanted to join a touring cup or something like that. I don't think it would ever qualify. So yeah, just track days,
right.
And time attack. Just trying to beat my own personal time is always nice.
So I'm looking at just some of the stuff you'd written about the car. How did it compare to your 944 turbo, the Porsche? How did it compare to the Honda S2K, the S2000? Just real quick, some general impressions comparing it to those other cars you've owned.
Yeah, I've owned a variety of cars and bikes in my time since I've been driving. But the 944, particularly the 944 turbo, and the Honda S2000, they were rear wheel drive, incredibly well balanced vehicles. I mean, the 944 was probably my most. I wanted to say it's my most enjoyable. It's my most memorable car. That I will definitely put there. I think the S2000, which was definitely down on power compared to the 944, was by far the most enjoyable car to drive. It was like having a go-kart everywhere you went. And it was an AP1, so it revved to 9,000 RPM, and it's just this really weird sensation to hear your engine just rev up that high. And then I
can't even imagine. I've had my GT350 went to 8250 or 8200. Yeah. And I just can't imagine 9,000. Holy cow.
Yeah. And it's one of the few vehicles that handles incredibly, but is also a convertible. I normally never go for a convertible, but the S2000 obviously only comes that way. And it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to hear that with the top down.
So how would you describe your Integra to the S2000? The S2000 was a go-kart. Would you consider the Integra go-kart like?
I would.
I mean, the weight's there. The weight's really down. The power's there. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it would always be up for debate, but the DC2 chassis, which is what the Integra is built on, was definitely considered one of the best front wheel drive handling vehicles of the 90s. I mean, you look back at like the real time racing Integras, those like super highlighter orange colored Integras I used to race back in the World Challenge Touring Cup. They dominated. They absolutely dominated. And I realize those are built on Type Rs, which is different than the Integra that I drive. But it does. It totally handles like a go-kart. And I would say compared to those, I've definitely built a much more sentimental connection with them. You learn a lot about a car by picking it down to its very last bolt and then reassembling it. You understand why this one bolt holds this together. You understand, oh, that's what happens when this rotates. This other thing rotates. It's really incredible. If anyone ever has the capacity or wants to learn how to do this stuff, you learn by doing. So I'd always encourage.
Have you had a chance to take it up in the mountains for a cruise around the turns and the twisties? And
yeah, I have. It's been really fun. Still kind of getting used to it. I've only had the car running the way it is now for about a month. So getting used to the way the power comes on, the way it brakes, even the way it handles now, because I did some chassis bracing and modified the suspension a little bit more when I had everything apart. So.
And in case you don't know, we are going to do a video shoot on Ian's Integra. So that's coming up this Saturday. We're going to usually takes us about 3 or 4 hours to do the video shoot. interview, drone footage, photography, rollers, and all that kind of fun stuff. And it takes us several weeks, to, of course, to edit all that footage and put that together. But we're doing that this Saturday, so we're really looking forward to meeting Ian and seeing his Integra and checking it out. It should be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, I hope everyone will enjoy the journey along the way. I was smart enough to record almost every day I was working in the garage, so you can see a lot of the stuff that I was just telling you about. So definitely check it out when the video comes out.
Yeah, I just want to also add, if you want to check out Ian's stuff, he has Instagram, the Ian Carr.
That is me.
Yeah.
2 hours. 2 hours.
2 hours. The
2
Ian
hours.
Carr.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely not a wrench turner like you are, Ian. So it's really impressive.
Well, when you own a 944 as your first vehicle,
you have
to learn.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Looks like we have our members starting to ask you if you want to build theirs. So
I wish it was a lot of fun. Turbo swap the M3, that could be fun. I did own an E30 at one point, but I think I don't know what you got on there.
Well, you got chewing on E36, E46. But yeah, I can't imagine cars weighing that much. Not as in that light compared to today's cars.
Yeah, but you notice it.
I'm sure. Yeah, my 2007 Z4 was 3275. The Mustang GT350 2016 GT350 was probably 3800 or so. The Alpha Giulia is around 3800. So they're definitely porkers, but man, 2200. Wow.
Yeah, they're a lot safer. I mean, that's one of the
Sure, they got all the airbags and all the crash crumple zones and all that stuff. Sure. Yeah. All right. What else you want to tell us about your car there, Ian, and the experience? And you told us about the dyno day and building the engine and its transmission. Was the so PFI Speed did the tuning? Was any of that a problem? Was you said you used Hondata?
Yeah, it was
Is
cool.
Hondata the ECU? Was it a piggyback ECU, or what's the configuration there for that?
Yeah, so Hondata is a piggyback ECU. So
Okay.
you replace a chip socket with a entire chip socket that's almost the size of the ECU, and you can plug it right into a laptop. And Hondata provides really good software called S300. So right there, that's how I was able to get it started so easily, was that I actually got a base map that someone looked at all the things I have. What injectors did I put in there? What size turbo? All those different aspects. And they literally just mail you a file and you click upload and it does the job. So it was actually quite sad. The first I had to reschedule my dyno day. I put about 200 miles on the car to kind of break in the clutch a little bit, stay out of boost, obviously. But like literally 3 days before my first dyno day appointment, I went out and I looked, and I actually had oil down around the head gasket. And I didn't want to. I didn't, and it was leaking right by the turbo manifold as well. And I really didn't want to go on the dyno with an oil leak right there. So I ended up canceling, and I had to postpone it an entire month. But what it ended up being was cam seals. I installed them properly. It wasn't even like they were faulty. I just kind of rushed into it, and both front and back ones were leaking. So it ended up being a blessing in disguise. I replaced those cam seals, but I ended up upgrading the timing belt to a Kevlar one. And so it's a Kevlar reinforced timing belt. Just a tiny bit of insurance to make sure nothing happens when you're spinning at 7,500 RPM. So, but yeah, we got to the dyno day, and like I said, the guys at PFI Speed, I had been chatting with them, so I was really hoping I didn't really mess anything up, and they ended up giving a lot of credit. It felt like for a well done, well thought out build, at least.
Tell us about the exhaust. Did you put high flow cats or catless downpipes, or
if the Colorado Emissions is listening, yes, I definitely have catalytic converters in there.
Good.
But if I wanted to go to a track day where it is still legal to take off my catalytic converter, I actually built in V bands for that exhaust. So I got the downpipe from the fabricator, and I had the exhaust that I already had on there. I ended up welding in V bands, both the front and the rear. So if I go to a track day or something like that, it's very easy to swap out. And since it's an OBD1 vehicle, I don't have a post-cat O2 sensor or anything like that. So no check engine lights.
Very nice. How's it sound? How's it sound?
Sounds like a 4-cylinder Honda, but the rasp is definitely gone thanks to the turbo. So I in the cabin, I hear more of the turbo sound than I do the exhaust.
Huh. Okay.
Not a bad problem to have.
No, not at all.
So, but yeah, the car itself, I mean, I think you actually saw it on its debut drive to the Cars and Coffee.
There, Lafayette. That was your first?
Yeah, that was the first outside of my little tiny community neighborhood. So it was so much fun to get it up there. And it was running great, felt great. So, and the Cars and Coffee has been a total blessing. Like I mentioned, I moved out here in 2019, and my wife and I, we moved out. We didn't know anybody out here, and I've always found great connections and friendships through the car community. And I would imagine anyone listening to this podcast is likely in the same boat. So it was really great to go up. I got to go to one Cars and Coffee before the lockdown. And it was nice to just meet people again. So
yeah,
especially during the lockdown, it's been great to have friends.
Yeah, I think we met at Sonic, or did we meet online before we met at Sonic? I don't remember, but
maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
I know I saw you at the Westminster Sonic and said hello, and so yeah, I think you shared a video with us, and we posted that up, and
yes, that's right. Yeah,
kind of went from there. So
yeah, I just gotten a gimbal, so I wanted to try that out.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining the team. It's glad to be out on board.
Yeah, happy to talk about my experiences with vehicles. I thought it was interesting because we had this topic that we were thinking about talking about, is that there's no middle class cars for people anymore. I would love to talk about that. Yeah,
I've not read that article yet, but I do want to check it out. It's on Road and Track, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and dump it in the comments here so you guys can see it.
I found it so timely. My wife, again, who is expecting, her lease had just run up on her little Jeep. She had a little tiny Jeep Compass. And so we had to go out and start looking at cars again. And as all of you know, the used car market right now is absurd, literally absurd. If you have a used car and you've been thinking about selling it, sell it right now. But we needed to find a vehicle, and we ended up going to a couple of dealerships in the area since it was time to trade it in. I didn't want to get another Jeep. We didn't want to keep her Jeep as well. I just think it was a little too small. So we ended up going to even just look at Volkswagens. And we test drove a new Taos. They're a very small SUV. And the difference between the top of the line one, which was crazy expensive for what it was, versus the one that you can get for very cheap. It's a different, it's almost felt like I should have had like roll up windows in the cheap one. And so we luckily ended up with like middle of the road Tiguan, great family car, I guess. But it was so interesting to see this new market where it's either you're paying a bunch of money for the top of the line, the luxury edition of that vehicle, or it's like just barely, like it's deeply unsatisfying as they
very
say.
very decontented. AM FM radio if you're lucky, and right. Yeah. I'd seen someone that posted that article. I just haven't had a chance to read it yet tonight, so I do want to do that. What were some of the other main points that they pointed out? Oh, also talking about that, if you get a chance, Savage Geese on YouTube does a lot of car-related content. He also talks about the similar types of things, so check out one of his most recent videos too. So I'll be up at Ian's place this Saturday. Get some of that video with some of our team. John, what do you got going this weekend? Any fun car shows or anything?
Not really anything I can think of. I think I have my sights on Grid Life. I got approved for media, so
okay, that's next week, right? Is it next weekend or?
Yeah, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday next week. Yeah.
All right. We've got several of our media team heading over to Automezzi on Sunday. So a note to self, go buy their spectator tickets. I haven't done that yet, but I will, promise. So yeah, that should be fun too.
Yeah, I'll also be down at Grid Life with you, John, next weekend.
Nice.
Okay.
They have
are you tracking your car?
Oh, I wish I was, but I will be working. I know some of the production friends there, and they have an arcade. So if you are planning to go down, feel free to come and see me. I'd love to chat cars. I'll be in the arcade Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when it's open. And
is there just one arcade, or do they need to look for a specific?
There's just one arcade. We'll have
Moe's arcade or something. Or...
yeah, it's the Grid Life arcade, and we'll
right.
have racing simulators and racing games there. So it'll be fun.
Very nice. Okay. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. This has been an awesome podcast. Thank you, Ian, for telling us about your Integra build, and John, thank you for telling us about Pikes Peak and your experience up there on the mountain. That's always fascinating. I'm always fascinated. The times that I've gone as a spectator, just the weather changes over the course of a day are astounding and dangerous and scary. So, but yeah, thanks for showing us and relating your experiences up there. That was great.
Yeah.
So, if you like to, John, if you want to go ahead and wrap us up, and we'll wrap this up. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thanks, Ian.
So thanks for listening to our podcast, everyone. We love your feedback. Stay in touch with the local car scene by visiting your favorite social media channels and searching for Colorado Cars and Coffee. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We have the newsletter and more. That's it for us here at Colorado Cars and Coffee. See you down the road, everyone.
All right, everybody. Yeah, check out our newsletter. Comes out every 2 weeks. We won't spam you too much, probably not. And we know a common question about how do I find events is a question I get every day. But sign up for that newsletter. That's a great way to find these events. On the Facebook group, there is a tab called, crazily enough, called events. So click on that and check out the events. And often midweek, we try to post up at the top of the page, at the top of the group, a pinned post, which has all the events that we've found as well. We're not going to get them all. We know Pokemon, you just can't catch them all. But we get darn close and we try hard. But if you do find another event on that pinned post, just post it down there in the comments, and I'll try to add it, or you've just added it yourself in the comments, and there it is. Definitely crowdsource. We need the crowdsource help to help us out. So thanks for all that. Hope you all have a great weekend. Go do something fun with cars. Share it on the group. We love seeing the photos and your video footage. So please share. And everybody have a great evening. So thanks. That's all. We'll see y'all later.
Bye.